That's why I said he was getting it.
So, Tracy and Taylor, it's now being live streamed, but it's the recording was paused, right?
It records it on the YouTube, so that's how
Oh, okay.
we don't record it to the Zoom because it takes up a lot.
Oh,
of
right,
room.
it's huge. Yeah, no, it's a huge
Yeah,
file.
we didn't pay for the Zoom storage, so we use the YouTube for the storage.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so we're good.
Download it, an MP4.
We haven't done that. We just usually store it on the YouTube because it's free and we don't have to worry about it.
I'd like to call the Voluntown Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting to order for June 14th at 7:11. Members present, David Niemanen, Joe's on Furley, and Juliet Hodge. For all intents and purposes, Juliet will be a full voting member tonight. First item will be citizens' comments. You are a citizen.
Nope.
Approval of the minutes from May 10th. Did everybody get a chance to read it?
No, I can't vote on that, though.
All right,
You want to postpone
Yeah,
it till
but-
Scott gets it?
can I get a motion to,
You get a motion to approve the minutes, make them
Well, let's.
to postpone to the end of the meeting?
postpone to the end of the meeting. Okay, yeah, I'll make a motion to postpone that to the end of the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any additions to the agenda? Not that I know of. Old business, re-subdivision application 280 Shetucket Turnpike, applicant Daniel Cloud, application received at May 10th. Need to schedule for a public hearing in July.
What's the July meeting?
I don't have the date. That's when we gotta set the public hearing for though.
The calendar?
It's the 12th. The 4th of July is a Tuesday, so the 5th is a Wednesday, so the 12th is a Wednesday.
So we finally got a map in front of us. We basically just have to do the public hearing, so if I could hear a motion.
You need a motion to set the public hearing?
Mhm.
Make a motion to set the public hearing for application. It doesn't have a number for 280 Shetucket Turnpike for 7 PM on July 12th.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Zoning regulation project, review compiled draft. All right, John, you're up.
Okay. So, what I did was, make some additional revisions based on what we talked about last time when we kind of talked through a couple of the questions I had, in, between chapters 8 and 11, and renumbered everything. And then, so we basically did, instead of doing a markup version, which we have, but it's hopelessly complicated because everything's been moved around and renumbered. So we basically have virtually a complete set of regs revised and reorganized here. There's a couple of things that still need to be worked through and get some input on. We had there was a question about, do we want to address short-term rentals? We haven't sort of addressed that. We haven't defined it at this point. I think Juliet had sort of some organizational thoughts about our table of uses. And I think Juliet, you had suggested, I think, either putting them in alphabetical order or in like kind, that, residential uses, non-residential uses together. So that has not been reordered. This is basically just follows the order of permitted uses that was in the existing one. And there's just a couple of questions that I had raised, like if we want to, we have currently, if you have a one family and a one family with an accessory, you need 80,000 square feet. But if you want a two family, which is not dramatically different from one family with an accessory apartment, you need another whole acre and a half. You need 140,000 square feet. So that's just it was just sort of a philosophical question while we're digging in, I want to ask.
Especially since they're usually attached and not detached.
Right. Because it's a two family dwelling. It doesn't, it's not plural dwelling. And there was still, I think one thing that was sort of not a question, it was just left to do. And in going through, I'd highlighted various places where we have to make sure that the new reference is correct. Because we renumbered everything. And you'll recall our old system had, it was, 9.7.1.1.1.1. And so we renumbered all of that to match the preferred numbering. Thank you. The outline format that you guys had preferred in the previous meetings. And I think the only major to do I still need to do is this section right here, which is section 10.16 about solar. Sort of the small or the large scale of the smaller solar operations. Sort of, multiple panels before you trip into the state siting council regulations. I just haven't gotten that. We had a pretty good conversation about it last time, but I just haven't gotten to put that together yet. But I think otherwise everything has been reorganized, renumbered, and updated. So there's still, there's still some things to talk about, and you may want to wait until you have a fuller group. And you may just want to, I think Taylor made some copies so people can sit with this for the next month or so and just, see if you like the organization and if it kind of flows together. Then we can do sort of a final cleanup for public hearing version. But this
I
is
have some comments or questions. I don't know what you talked about last week or month, sorry.
okay.
Make it. So you can
So-
just over it, but.
Yeah, no. So last month it was basically we kind of went through the reorganization of sections 8 through 10, which section 8, and I'm going to scroll relatively quickly, deals with zoning permit and special permit procedures, which is just sort of administrative procedures and cleaning these up and bringing them up to date with sort of modern zoning approach standards.
John, could I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to make it noted for the minutes that Scott Davidson entered the room and he will be taking over the board at 7:19.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Scott.
Thanks.
Yeah. And so, and just Juliet, and section 9 is the site plan requirements and development standards that you had been aghast to discover hadn't really been part of our current set of regulations.
Yeah,
And I reorganized and brought all of these things into the same place, as well as adding a number of categories of standards that we did talk about last week when we talked about landscape standards, lighting standards. We eliminated a lot of our parking, sort of the arbitrary parking formula, and then beefed up our erosion and sedimentation control. So a lot of those, the baseline, permit review standards were there. And then section 10 is where we put all of the supplementary regs and special exception standards for different uses that had been kind of scattered around. Some in the definitions and some in, section 5 and some in section 8. And so all of the special uses are reorganized to section 10. And we did make some changes there. And we added some uses like special event facilities was a new use. And we were talking through solar as well. So that's how sections 8 through 10 were organized, and I did get a lot of guidance from the commission at last meeting, and those are reflected here. But yeah, anyway, that's the short version.
So right now, are you looking for comments in general on everything or just 8, 9, 10?
On everything, I think, but I mean, it's also up to the chair, but this is, this is really, well, I think we sent this out last week, but this is sort of really the first time virtually the whole document of the reorganized regs has been in your hands since this project started last year.
Right.
You know, we get to go through all this.
Yeah,
and
which
make
is
more
great,
changes
so-
and, right,
I noticed some things that are sort of related to that we should probably fix before the
Yeah.
public hearing.
So, it's really, I'm at your, if it's easier, and I know different people have sort of different approaches. Juliet, if you just want to do I can send you the Word version if you want to do a markup and I can do some tweaks, or if we want to go page by page or section by section, it's really up to the commission.
I can briefly go over some of them and then I could attempt to find time to write it down, but there's some bigger general ones that we could probably address.
Alright.
If that's
So
all right.
the one thing that I would like to address with this whole rewrite, and I don't know how the board feels, but I think we've gone this far, and I really think we need to look at around the lake and our zones and make another zone for like a lake district and set some regs for that, as long as we're doing all this.
And maybe look at the existing zone.
Yes.
We started that.
Yeah, and we kind of have talked about it, but nothing's really come of it. And I think I would really like to see something come of that before we put this to public hearing. That's my personal opinion. I don't know how the board feels about it.
yeah, Beach Pond, it's small cottages
Are they seasonal?
that have now become houses.
Big
And
house.
it's just escalated from there with, like, it's small, these one little lots, they used to come on the weekend, and now they live in there. Big, giant, 3-story homes.
Were they
um,
ever zoned seasonal?
So it was predated planning and zoning. So they
Yeah.
were able to just go and go. Septic systems are always a problem, and what happens is they come before the board, we deny them, and then they go to ZBA, and
Oh, no.
they're all set.
And health code they passed?
The health code, they have issues on occasion, but that usually, they make it work.
But I think we need to separate that out
Yeah,
and actually have some guidelines for down there.
'Cause
Are
we are,
are there vacant lots still? Because if they're already built out, they're already built out.
There are-
Now,
there are-
they're not all built out.
there's a couple of vacant areas.
Yeah.
It like in the middle, not like right on the pond, but like, well, there are some on the pond on the other side.
on the opposite side there, you got that whole.
Yeah.
I just think if we've gone this far, we should.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be worth it.
Visit
then.
it,
I just think we should kind of look at it.
not to mention we have Bailey Pond too,
That's true. I never thought about that.
because there is actually town on that one little section.
We have a little tiny section the state owns like a chunk.
Chunk too, yeah.
And most of it's, well, the opposite side mostly is it Sterling, I think. That's where it's mostly open. In Sterling.
I think there's what, 2 lots on the other side of the pond that are Voluntown,
Yeah.
1 or 2.
So I think we need to look through what you've got, John, but I also think we need to look deeper into that before it goes to a public hearing.
We have
Is
a
that-
workshop on that.
What?
Probably have
Yeah.
a workshop on that, dig out all the,
Well, so yeah, that's I think that's I agree. That the lake community evolved in a way that certainly doesn't fit with our standard rural agricultural zone. I guess it's I think as Juliet said, a workshop or a broader discussion about what exactly you would like to allow and encourage there, and then obviously shape the regulations around that. But I think we want to start with planning that discussion. What do we want it to be, and then get to the zoning.
and maybe you could bring in, I mean, I was thinking grab North Stonington, but other towns that have a lake,
Oh, yeah.
district
Yeah, sure.
regulations they put in.
Yeah, Woodstock did one around Bungie and Witches Woods. That's, I don't know, it's decent.
So can I go over some of the comments or no? My comment?
I mean, you got a bunch or just a few?
Well, I can do the big ones and do the little ones with him, but just like general, like in the definitions or whatever you have listed as a use should be defined, but some of your uses are rambling, so it'd be hard to define it. And then you have other uses, like, for example, like a campground or something. You might have a campground, but then you might have something like commercial recreational. Is it the same? Could it be the same? That's why I always categorize, so I could have like recreational, and then you can have sub, like, okay, yes, that's a general category to give some flexibility.
Yeah.
But I mean, under a campground, these regulations might apply. Or if your recreational facility is a racetrack or something, these would apply, so that you aren't just allowing any kind of random,
Yeah.
you know, if there's a particular recreational activity that you're afraid of or don't want, you could get it in there, but
Right. Yeah.
that was one thing. It's, you know, it's when you have agricultural activities, including the keeping of horses, but not including raising of poultry. First of all, that sounds like a regulation, not a use, versus just agriculture. It's hard
Right.
to define.
Mhm.
So that was one thing. And then like, oh, there was a good example, eating and drinking establishments by special permit and beer and brew pub by special permit. So they're both special permits, so you're already protected, but aren't they the same thing? Is it eating or drinking establishment? Or is it like, or does?
No, I mean, because I think a brew pub has to do with it's also a brewery where you happen to drink what you make.
So you should have that as brewery.
It's manufacturing essentially, but yeah.
Because, well, I think the reason they listed it as brew pub was because the intention is to make it and be able to sell it.
It may include a restaurant, so it's very similar to an eating and drinking establishment, so since they're both by special permit, I don't think you need to call it out, but. And then that hotel, I really sincerely hope we're gonna, first of all, take out that regulation that's part of the use. The maximum density of 2 rooms per acre, you don't even have lots in that zone that would work
Where
for
are
a
you?
2-room hotel. I mean, there's no, there, I looked at that, the POCD subcommittee looked at that, we looked at all of the lots in the
I'm sorry, Julia, where are you?
village district regulate, anywhere there's the motels, hotels use. So
Oh,
in- So the village district, I think your largest lot, I can't, they're all tiny here. So to have a maximum density of 2 rooms per acre, mind you have to have a parking lot and common area and stuff like that. I mean, you'd need a 200-acre lot to have a hotel that would ever come here. So you
right.
might as well just prohibit hotels, because that's what you're essentially doing right there. I don't, maybe you don't want hotels, which is fine. If you don't want hotels, I have no opinion on that, but somebody's just gonna laugh for that one. I had mentioned that before, so I thought we were gonna take it up, but. And then I noticed everything's by special permit or zoning permit, but nothing by site plan. Except that you don't say anything about solar and wind. But when you get to, I mean, they aren't in any use table anywhere, so I don't know immediately if they're allowed. But when you go to that supplemental reg, it says it needs a site plan, so that to me says, okay, by site plan approval only, not special permit. Which is which I'm fine with, but it's out of character with the fact that you seem to only want to do special permits here. Or zoning permit, you know, there's no middle, you know, you have sometimes that.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. No, that was, yeah.
But you gotta at least get it into the use table under something.
Right. That's a good point. I don't think let me go down to that section and make a note that we need to add it to the use table.
And then home occupation in the village commercial, that was one of the things we had brought up in one of the POCD meetings, that there's a bunch of houses there, so why not allow home occupation? I mean, the whole goal is to, if you don't want a lot to change the character of the town and whatnot, a home occupation sometimes is a good alternative to getting a little more tax revenue and allowing somebody to make a little more income or whatever. Like, it should be the goal of a town to allow home occupations so that they eventually want to move into a commercial space, but I just thought it was weird that we didn't allow it in the overlay district where most of the houses are. But you allow it in the village district where there's some houses.
Oh, I see. Oh, right. So, yeah, okay.
And a lot of those houses we found were set off the road, so it would be perfect for home occupations.
That's
You wouldn't be
probably
able to
just
see
an
it.
overlook at that point.
Yeah, probably was.
Yeah, because we had talked about it because
Yeah, we
they
did.
weren't visible, so that was a good place for them. And then page 15, buildable area. You're
Yeah.
calling it out, but you've defined it. So is this something different? So each lot, I mean, does it still have to abide by the definition? I mean, because this is, of course, all lots have to comply with health code and things like that.
Where
I
are
don't
you?
get why-
Page 15?
Page 15, 5A.4B,
Oh, yeah.
That's my page 13.
right? So is it, I said, so is this
Yeah,
different?
no, I mean, I think that's a remnant from the existing regs. That's something that we could, I don't,
So if you already have dimensional regs, a definition of buildable area, I don't think you need
that's fine.
that.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then I was saying, be consistent with the way you label the uses, so. You have automotive services and repair shops. And
Mhm.
then it's somewhere else, it's different.
Oh.
It's worded slightly different, but then my other, it said you had repair services. There's one other place where it's here because I just saw it. Automotive, okay, so you have automotive services such as service stations, repair garages, automotive supplies, which is really retail, and automotive vehicle sales establishments in one place. Then you have automotive services and repair shops. Is that saying you don't want the rest of those things? But you also would have to define it, so that would be hard to define. If you had, if they weren't the same, but maybe you don't want them to be the same, I don't know. I just be consistent. And then I was wondering why you would want to have automotive, I don't know, I can't say that word tonight. Automotive service and repair shops in the rural district. Do you have them? You just don't want to make them non-conforming or something?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, like a lot of people, have a big old barn or big garage that they fix cars in. That, they do as a hobby, they do for themselves, and then it kind of grows. That happens actually quite a lot.
Right, so it still needs location approval and stuff.
Right.
All right. I don't care either way, but. Kennels. So you define hobby
Well,
kennel,
automotive service and repair shops are in there. In the rural district.
I know, I was wondering why they were,
Oh.
people consider that a nuisance use sometimes, so.
Sure.
Kennels. So the commercial kennel is a much more nuisance use than a hobby kennel. But you just say kennels here in under 6.2, does that mean both? And by zoning permit only, that would imply that.
No. I think that implies non-commercial, but yeah, I'll have to check the definitions.
So since you have both definitions, I would call out both. If you're gonna list them as a use.
Yeah.
Like because commercial kennels usually have an acreage requirement and
Right.
other parking dogs.
Would we trade any of that with kennels and commercial kennels?
Just have it in the definitions. Because you have it by zoning permit, so I was thinking.
Right. I think that should be intended. And again, it's a remnant of the current regs, but yeah, we need to distinguish that.
And manufacturing is not defined anywhere. That's a pretty big one to define.
Sure.
And then you have buildings for research or professional use. Research facility, or is it something different than that? Like, or professional use, what does the professional use mean then? Like professional
not-
service?
Not leaving it up to a bunch of amateurs.
Right, but what use,
I'm just kidding.
or is that? It seems like two different uses, although. It would be pretty benign, I guess.
Which, where are we? No.
7.4. I'm just still looking at uses that aren't defined.
Yeah.
Or a combination of uses on one line and neither are defined. Like commercial or private recreation and resort development. I mean, luckily, a lot of these are by special permit, so it's
Mhm.
not a disaster if you don't, but some of them I think it's important too. And then you had a 7.5, and I know these are remnants, like you were trying to combine all these sort of supplemental EV type regulations into one place, which is great. But some of these are covered under special permit criteria anyway. So like, for example, 7.5B.
Oh, right,
they're
right.
all- those
Yeah,
are
so this, right, this is
for
something
electrical interference, you can call that one out, I suppose.
we could, yeah, we could move this all. We actually probably just, this is all special permit. We could probably just get rid of it, all of it, because all the special permit.
Yeah, most of these are buffering, maybe that's, I didn't have a chance to compare, but I can see, we'll
Yeah.
call it buffering, like E, make it consistent with the other ones.
Yeah, no, I think we can probably just move it over, like, or just, it's covered by the special permit criteria.
And do you want to put anything about change of use in here in the chapter 8, like the process? there-
Oh, did I not have change of use in there?
Unless I'm looking right at it. I have administrative zoning permits, post-development certificates, occupancy, lot line adjustments, and pre-splits.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could be more explicit about it, but, it's,
Is there a problem?
the process depends on what you're changing the use to, right? If you're changing from one zoning permit use to another zoning permit use, it's a zoning permit. If you're changing from a zoning permit use to a special permit, it's a special permit. Because it's a use table.
Right. I don't know, you might want to explain that to people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, bonding, so, what section are we in? Where's the first section? Must be part of 8.2 G, Bond.
Yeah.
You don't bond for all site improvements, you're only allowed to bond for public improvements.
Yep.
And soil and erosion control, obviously, but I would just change that to public.
Yep.
These are all little ones I can go over. Site plan contents, I don't know, I always suggest make it a check sheet. Because that way, because your 9.2 L, that's gotta come out. It's illegal, so. Instead of putting that kind of languages, which they can't do, just make it a check sheet, that way. If it's applicable, it's applicable.
I don't think it's illegal because it's an application requirement, not a specific criteria.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right, but it's. I don't know, I hate it when it's worded that way.
Okay, I'll highlight it. If you have a better way of phrasing that, that'd be great. If you have an example from somewhere.
If it's a check sheet, then you could change it more often too, without having to go through all this.
Okay.
I don't have much more. I would like the lighting, you want to just come up with no more than 3 foot foot candles at the. Like if you're gonna require them to do a lighting plan or something, they're useless unless you have a standard to measure it against. And there's no actual standards.
Yeah, this is one of those things. This is one of those things that the whole thing is relatively arbitrary. I think, shall not cast direct lighting or glare off premises, like
How much glare off?
glare.
How could we tell though? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a drawing on a paper.
Yeah, I mean, it's photometric, you know.
So it's
But yeah.
one candle at the
I think
property
it's more
line.
for enforcement than anything.
There's no standard.
Yeah, so I mean, I mean, this is like, this is zoning enforcement, you know, nightmares, because not only is, you know, do we not have the equipment or the training to properly measure foot candles, but nobody's on duty in the middle of the night, you know, to take these measures.
but that they prove it on the site plan that
Right,
this
yeah.
do this, and then if you get a complaint. You could look into it, but.
Okay.
If what Scott's saying is then.
I
yeah,
think it's
it's
more
fine.
of an enforcement issue, not as
A site plan standard.
correct, exactly. I think it's more of an enforcement issue. If there is an issue that somebody can say, okay, listen, it's not supposed to be glaring off the property. You need to rectify the situation versus us saying, oh, well, you know, on the print, that sort of stuff.
All right, and then this one is slightly different than the site plan standards not being able to be waived, even though I don't like that word. And I'll skip the lighting one. Let's like 9.5 landscaping buffer area.
Hmm.
So you have some required buffer here somewhere. Right. It's required, blah, blah, blah. And then you say commission finds by majority vote. The impact of the proposed development will significantly depreciate the value. It sounds like you're waiving a standard though.
Yeah, where is that?
It's
Oh,
7.
modification, yeah.
9.5 C, number 2 and number 3, these are waivers.
Julia, how many more do you have, do you
Not-
think?
not-
Roughly. And here's what I'm thinking, because there's only 4 of us here this evening. My thought is, let Juliet send you the stuff that she's got, John.
I don't have.
Let's send it out to everybody and get everybody's opinion on it. Because some of this almost sounds like, I know, and I'm not trying to point fingers, but it's wording, play on words kind of stuff. Whether somebody likes it or doesn't like it. And let's see how the whole commission feels about everything. And then go from that. Because we could be here all night.
It's not that I don't have that much.
In this manner.
I don't. The waiver thing is important to me, because that's not allowed. So, like anytime the.
Well,
commission reviews
here-
planning, no,
Before this goes to, and no disrespect to anybody here. Before this goes to public hearing, it is going to the town attorney to be looked up. So if there's anything that's illegal, it's gonna be caught at the town attorney level.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not gonna,
all right, I
Make
just
an
have
argument
3
over
more
it.
quick ones, and then I'll stop, I promise.
that's fine.
10.8, multifamily housing. Have the attorney check number C in particular. I was surprised we could regulate that or require.
Wait, where are you? 9.8.
10.8 C,
C.
like ownership and, I don't know. That, where in our statutory authority are we allowed to do that?
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. Well, wait,
I don't know if we are or not. Didn't seem like it.
yeah, right, this is, yeah, I agree. I didn't catch that when I rearranged it.
Rear lots, I think we should probably take a look at in light of, just to make sure that we're jiving with subdivision regs and whatnot.
Mhm.
Or acknowledging like those special interior lots or whatever. Buildable, and the buildable area for a rear lot, you say 30,000 square feet of buildable area, is that contiguous or does it matter? Just something to think about.
Yeah, that we should indicate contiguous in there, right?
And then another big thing of like this whole. Can an engineer, architect, or a surveyor prepare the site plan? There is the statute, not that we all follow it, but there is the statute that if you have to determine location with respect to. Property lines, the surveyor has to stamp it. So there was a couple places where he said, like a special event, the site plan had to be prepared by an engineer or landscape
Mhm.
architect, but then you were talking about buffer 100 feet from property line, you know, you're talking about property lines and nearby residences and uses, that screams a surveyor. I know that not all of us are about that. And then the wind and solar, they aren't in the use table.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna add that.
Non-conforming building and lots, there's a lot better regs out there that have passed the legal muster. In my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, there's towns, like, there's a couple of different philosophical approaches to that may be just something we talk about a little bit more. I didn't do any changes here, really.
Yeah,
Um,
you cover all the situations that might come up.
Yeah.
Like you want to allow the houses on a non-conforming lot, you obviously want them to be able to build a garage or have a home occupation or do anything that's allowed. You know, like some of it would violate that consistency where you say, oh yeah, you can have a shed, but you can only have 200 square feet. That doesn't really pass muster. I mean, if you're treating it like a house, it's another house gets to have it. Any size shed, you know, provided it complies with the setback requirements or health code or something like that, you shouldn't be able to limit it. But, or if we want to allow people to have, if they have a non-conforming structure with respect to setbacks, that they can expand it by 10% or give them a little something.
Right, without a variance, yeah.
Yeah, without having to go to ZBA. That's it, you know, it was fast. Been way too busy.
Right. Joe, let's hear your list.
My list? A little longer than hers.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Okay, so what I'll do, if, I'll circulate this around again, Scott, and, ask people to provide markup. And then we can bring it back for discussion next time.
Okay. What's next on the agenda?
Well, if you want to come on.
I'm filthy and I don't.
I don't care, you don't. Pardon me, I just came from work day.
Disgusting.
Next thing is new business.
You'll make me look better, it's fine.
Thanks, you're welcome. Zoning regs. So what happened with the subdivision?
We just set the public hearing.
Okay, so we have, what we,
It's 12. So
July, what?
12.
Okay. You guys are on there. Not here.
No?
Appointment of zoning officer. Tracy, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Sure. So,
Well, first, we all got the letter, correct? Okay.
I didn't get any of them.
The letter that
Pete
he-
resigned.
Oh, yeah.
Pete resigned as of, I think it was like July 1st, like that week,
June 1st.
June 1st, yep, sorry. I don't even know what that is.
Don't put us further than we already.
The position was that he had was building officer and zoning officer. We're splitting it off. Building officer, a different person, zoning officer, a different person. The planning and zoning by state statute appoints the zoning officer. And the selectman's office appoints the building officer. So we have a temporary building officer right now. It's Earl Dean. He was filling in for Pete when he was on vacations and not around. So he's temporary until the end of June, and we're in the process of I just offered someone the job today. We're still in discussion on that. So that he would be starting in July, so.
And Tracy, to be clear, the guy you offered the position to was just the building official component, not the zoning part, right?
It's just a building official. So the zoning official is still up to the board to hire. So
Have you posted it?
We haven't posted it yet because you guys haven't.
Do you even have a budget?
This is all stuff, good questions, exactly.
Is there
Um,
a reason for
I-
salary
it's-
range?
However, I don't even have a copy of the budget with me, so I don't know how it was, if part of Pete's salary was in yours before.
It was, yeah, it was
None of Pete's salary was in our budget.
Yeah, so right now it's probably gonna be wherever Pete's was before for this budget year at least.
I
So,
assume
For,
part-time.
for
It's
just the
part-time.
building official,
for both,
or both?
so yeah, if you don't have it and if it's, I don't
Yeah, we
know.
don't
how-
have it in
We did not
I
have.
don't-
it.
I doubt he broke out his time of, here, I'm doing, 2 hours as building official, 1 hour as zoning official. It was just, he was just here and did the stuff altogether.
Exactly.
So for this year, it'll be, probably out of the selectmen's budget, or it was before, but we'll just know next year when had to move part of it, so.
Does NECOG have staff like CCOG does? I know,
I don't-
this is a trick question.
Yeah, don't.
Go back to CCOG.
So,
They have a great zoning official right now.
What, who does? CCOG?
Yeah, Jen, she's awesome.
so.
Jen? Oh, CCOG, yeah.
So what I talked to Tracy about in this was I said. We need somebody in the interim because we can't, that basically shuts that office down.
Yeah.
If we don't have a zoning officer. My feeling is unless you wanted to step up.
Come on, dude.
Do you know how busy?
Is that John's already here. John, you're licensed, correct, John?
I'm certified, which is the new state requirement that anyone newly appointed has to obtain this certification.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
No, little permits?
We just need, there's not a lot of zoning stuff realistically that comes through this office. Am I correct? John, right now?
I would ask Taylor.
This thing's for like zoning review and there are zoning complaints, but it's not like,
Yeah, I mean, it's not a full-time job by no means.
yes.
I
Yeah,
mean,
for the-
realistically, with every building permit, there should be a zoning permit that goes with it.
Do you guys
In
number your
realistic,
permits?
what?
Do you guys not number your permits? to
They
track?
do, and they weren't being. The number. Yeah. How do I say this politely? The numbering system has changed over the years. That's how I'm gonna put
Just so you can track them, that's all.
it. Yes.
Yeah, well, it's all online right now. It's all in.
It is online, and I don't know how that system,
That's one of the things that we're looking into because the old permits are numbered differently than the new permits, because the system numbers the new ones, so we're with Taylor new in the office. She's putting some of the old stuff into the system and she's in the process of trying to figure out what to do with the old numbers, if we can override it.
the
And
old
put the
stuff
old
is
ones.
month, day, year.
Yeah, if there's a way we can
Mm.
override it and put it in the
That's
system,
how the permit numbers came about, month, day, year.
because there are still old permits out there. So,
But they were, the numbers never came,
That's right, you wouldn't duplicate.
you wouldn't duplicate numbers. That's how they were done. And then that way you also knew when the permit came in. So it wasn't an unlogical, it just died somewhere along the way. It got changed. I don't know.
And you
I don't know what the system
Like
is
your
now.
subdivision and stuff, like when you put a notice in the paper, you don't have an application number.
That was month, day, year,
Ah,
when it's received.
Okay,
but now they would be numbered by how they
like so
enter,
this one has a number somewhere?
how they
It
put it
should.
in the computer for
It
their
should.
permits. So it would have a number.
But that's all in this new system and that's beyond my pay grade.
Yeah, we should, I mean, for the agendas,
They should
put
have,
the application
yeah,
number on.
the application number should be on there because it's actually supposed to be, especially for the public hearing, it's supposed to be read.
Right.
100%.
I thought you didn't have.
They, good. So what I told Tracy was that, we can't hold things up, that we need to get John to do stuff. Nothing's happened in the meantime because as Tracy's saying, we're supposed to appoint him. There's nothing that's really come in, but I think we need to appoint somebody this evening You don't wanna,
John can do it, I don't know whether he did.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm,
I mean, it's, in a pinch, I'll come in and sign off on something, but you know, I'm not really well versed in the process.
It's, I mean, not to jump the gun. I'm certified and I'm in the office on a regular basis. I have a login for the OpenGov. I'm happy to review and sign off.
and that's how I feel. I feel that it's kind of a no-brainer
And
that
then interim, yeah.
as interim.
The-
But I
the
think
bo-
we need to, that list went out to everybody of what was put out when the previous zoning officer was hired. Yeah, and does anybody have, if not, we'll run that as, the requirements.
The one thing I would just add as a request, if you were going to go ahead and appoint me, would be to appoint Taylor as a deputy. Not that she could sign off on things, but so that she can review and add that to her title, which would help her as if she chose to seek zoning certification, that she acted in a zoning enforcement capacity. That would assist her.
Oh, that's a good idea, yeah.
I'm like,
And then she can wear a little badge too.
But then she can keep the logs and stuff like that too.
Yeah. yeah, they're full-time stuff.
Are we good with that?
Make a motion to appoint John Guskowski as zoning official and Taylor, I don't know your last name.
Lucier.
Interim.
Lucier as interim zoning official and Taylor Lucier as assistant deputy zoning official.
All about
Second.
titles.
It's
all about titles. All right, motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. Move forward. All right, virtual meeting accommodation. is the way that it was
We
made.
still.
Do you want to speak on that?
Pardon me.
Well, I just wanted to, whatever thing you decide, you just have to make sure that, the meetings they still have to be recorded by state statute.
Yep, we know.
So they just have to be done and stored in a way that is feasible, because right
Well, I would
now,
Go back to the original recorder.
well,
that
that's
we-
the problem that we had. That's why we switched. One of the reasons why we switched in the first place was because the actual recording was being downloaded to the computer and it was taking up a lot of space. So if there's a way to do it where it's not, and it's not gonna cost money to put storage somewhere,
We can
then
do Zoom and record it to the cloud.
see, if we could do that, I don't know.
Anybody can.
They don't, I thought for the Zoom, you had to pay for the storage.
You can, you can record it to the
You
cloud.
do. If-
I want to get away from Joan.
Zoom has a limited subscription capacity.
Somebody here.
You can still do the Zoom without it live streaming if you can figure out how to download it
Just
on
as hours. We have a meeting once a month. That's all I'm asking for, once a month. Okay? I don't want these meetings put on public television.
Well, you
anymore.
can do them on, if there's a way to store them, like not having to pay on Zoom, if there is a way to like download it
You have a
off.
Zoom account, right?
We do have a Zoom account.
I don't think you have to.
Are they pulling them
pay for
off
that.
the Zoom or are they pulling them off?
They're
the-
pulling them off the live stream off of YouTube, because that's our storage right now is YouTube, because we don't even save them.
Save it to the cloud on Zoom.
We don't even save them on Zoom. We save them right onto YouTube, so, cause it's free. And I think before when we were doing it on Zoom, well, we always just did it right on YouTube because it was taking up too much space. In order to save them on the Zoom, you had to like pay extra money for like storage space. When it first came out.
I know that we don't, I don't, it's not extra, it's easy, it's an MP4 file, it doesn't take up any space whatsoever.
So if that's possible, then that's an
There's a
option.
link to it.
Yeah.
I mean, you take it off of there and, I don't know. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I don't know if that can be figured out for Taylor to do, then that's an option.
You don't like something.
No, we still need
Oh, yeah,
to,
we didn't.
we didn't post, we need to post in publication, and actually try to get somebody to apply. Because right now, we only have an interim.
Yeah.
So,
Good point. But I'm like,
Do
okay,
we have a salary?
no, we have no salary, we have
No.
no nothing. That's what, I mean,
Oh,
yeah, there you go. I like that.
For the building officer, we're doing it hourly, so,
what are you doing price wise hourly?
we haven't really figured that out yet, because it was like, we were trying to figure out if we were doing it the same as Peter was paid hourly. So we were trying to figure out if we were gonna do that just the same or different, or we haven't figured out yet.
Zoning?
They can be the same, I don't know if it's up to you guys, I don't know if it's worth, like, what the average person gets paid hourly for that.
New CEOs are coming in at like 70 grand right now. So, full time,
I don't know.
you can't find them.
But we're lucky because the person that I offered it to, he's retiring and he doesn't want a lot of hours, so it's perfect. So if you can find someone in the same situation, maybe.
Well, but you gotta post it, so you gotta put.
Yeah.
wage. What, I mean, what are they getting, John?
Well, we just kind of moved from one.
Yeah, I think 70 is, if you're looking for, well, yeah, that would be a beginner full-time equivalent at this point.
Well, and then that, now that we're back to that subject, I mean, and to be honest with you, John, so we have you locked in for how long? As town planner?
Well,
He's,
did the budget pass? Tracy, did the budget pass?
yeah, the budget passed, so he's in
Yeah,
the,
so through next July.
Realistically,
We got him for a year.
I think we need to combine those two jobs into one job. The
Building
town
zoning?
planner and the zoning officer.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I think that is more of an attractive sell.
You putting this out to bid?
I will.
Because a second ago, you approved me as zoning officer. You have it. You have a town planner zoning officer for the next year.
Yep, I mean, we can run like this for a year, but then maybe put it out to bid.
Well, you should then get something into your budget so you can.
Well, I
Right,
understand
we gotta
that,
change the budget
but,
completely.
but,
Because right now it's coming out of the selectmen's, right?
Oh, never mind.
I think the selectmen have a choice in the planner too, because we use the planner too.
I know, but I think
If they
I
can-
think that's a better avenue to go. I think from a logistic point, the building officer, the structural building officer and the zoning officer absolutely should have never been put together.
It's good. If Peter's from Groton and they have it together in Groton.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, that's it,
Banner
they do,
Media is-
they do. But I honestly think
Scott,
they should be separate. Because if you get one guy doing
Total
both,
power.
he controls everything. It's not right. That's supposed to be two different departments.
Well, I think it's more appropriate that the zoning official be
Checks-
associated with
checks
the
and-
planning,
Yes, and I agree with that too. Yes, I
because
agree with
they're
that.
working the zoning regs versus the building.
So do we want to just table that
We
and
can,
work up
but I
with,
just wanted to point it out.
yeah, you were 100% correct in that. You were 100% correct. But we just kind of jumped off on.
I know. You wanna go home, I do.
I do, I have not been home yet. You're 100% correct.
So are you gonna look into the Zoom thing? Do you want me to go ask my IT guy?
Yeah, ask them how they do it.
I don't want to do the way that we're doing it now. At all.
On like the YouTube.
If there's a way to save it.
It's just like a recording.
it's
It
not-
serves as like a
and-
tape recorder.
And out of our zoning, out of the stuff for the zoning, it has been removed that we have to use Zoom.
Correct.
It has been lifted. I talked to the town attorney. We do not have to use Zoom.
Well,
But
unless one of your commissioners wants a virtual accommodation.
Unless what?
Unless one of the commissioners wants a virtual accommodation, in which case you do have to. So, for example, a couple of months ago, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago, Juliet was home. You are obliged to accommodate that. If one of your commissioners is sick and wants to participate or just wants to stay home, you are obliged by FOI to accommodate that commissioner.
It
That's not what the town attorney told me, but I'll check with him on that.
Isn't that why we have alternates?
No, but I think he is right, though. The Zoom thing.
You're not obliged to accommodate the public, but you are obliged to accommodate commissioners.
I'll check on that.
Okay.
I'll check on that. Correspondence, I have nothing, but when we're on correspondence. Can we get rid of because everything now is going to the planner and we have paid staff, can we get rid of that email address? Because all I get is junk anymore. That's all I
And
get.
that's up to how they communicate to you. How does Taylor communicate with you?
Any email is fine with me.
A regular email.
Okay.
You just send me a regular, there's not that much correspondence and all I get is junk and I go on there and it's all going, everything's going to junk. I mean.
We'll make it
Everybody has my
FOI-able.
phone number.
Yeah, the only thing is, you just need to be aware that if we get FOI for anything, they can get all your personal.
I
stuff.
get that part too.
Okay.
I
So that's
just,
all you have to be
it's
aware of.
really become. It's really become a pain in the butt.
'Cause we
I go and
get-
check it and I mean, all it is advertisements and Amazon and this, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Why am I getting all this?
you just need to be aware if you get FOIA that they get your.
Get the statute up.
But I mean, that means that's the same for everybody else because I don't get anything that anybody else doesn't get.
Yeah, so it's true.
You know what I mean? Really not at this point.
So, Mr. Chair, what I put on the screen is Public Act 22-3, which is an update to the Freedom of Information Act.
Yep.
Any public agency that conducts a meeting, which is this, shall provide members of the public agency the opportunity to participate by means of electronic equipment. Except that the public agency is not required to adjourn or postpone if a member loses the ability. So if it's bad tech and they lose coverage or whatever, you don't have to adjourn for them. But you are obliged, if they want it, to.
That doesn't
accommodate
mean
the
Zoom.
ability.
That doesn't mean Zoom, so you can call in. Still make a phone call, but it doesn't mean Zoom. I don't want it, I do not want it recorded.
Could, unless you're looking at a map and then a phone doesn't cut it.
Well, I mean, that's why we used to do packets going out to everybody prior to the meetings. So everybody had a packet in their hand to be able to look at
Right,
it.
but they can't see what the person is pointing to, the developer's pointing to.
I don't know, I'm
I
not,
just think I would welcome your double checking with Rich Roberts on it. But I would think that your preference needs to be relatively compelling to outweigh what the directive is from Freedom of Information.
I think Zoom is, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, and if you
Because
just.
you get more public,
Drive.
public.
and I'm not denying that. There's issues on the other side.
And snow days.
Correspondence, like I said, nothing, unless there was anything in the box. General discussion, do you have any discussion? Yes, no? You don't want to make.
Oh, yeah, I do, general discussion.
Yeah.
Taylor, is there any chance you could give like a reminder phone call for all us idiots who are very busy and don't pay attention that we have a meeting coming up once a month?
Wow, and so that, I'm assuming that's probably the way there's only four of us.
That's why I'm looking at the table and then seeing an empty table.
Okay.
Taylor, there was an email, or I'm sorry, a text chain
Yeah.
that Sue had set up, so we can probably just pull numbers off of there. If people want to text.
Yeah, text, whatever.
Yeah, text works for me.
But
Yeah,
I think I'm part of that chain, Taylor. I can probably get you the numbers.
yeah, it's just the month gets away from you and,
Oh, yeah.
or, I mean, this is,
We're gonna do the minutes. We moved it. to
Oh,
minutes.
yeah,
you didn't do
we
minutes?
postponed the minutes.
I
to
wasn't
the
here,
end
so I wouldn't have
because she was
been able to vote.
Oh, okay,
So we only had two
Wait for
people.
you.
that's fine. So we gotta go back,
Back open, do the
Open-
minutes
open the
from
minutes.
May 10th.
so we need an approval of minutes from May 10th, 2023. Has everybody looked at them?
Did that draft get sent out? Not that it would matter for me, but I didn't see that in the package.
It's not. Not here, so nobody's got minutes.
I can go print out right now.
Yep, perfect.
It wasn't, that's what I was saying.
I'm still getting the packet.
Maybe I was reading it.
Yeah.
So you
Alright.
can look at everything.
Been a long day.
It's a long week.
All right.
And it's only Wednesday.
It's only Wednesday, no more.
I think this week was gonna be better.
No, no, it's not.
That's something like 24 new houses already this year.
Hmm.
20, that's a lot.
What town are you in? Are you still in
Ledger.
Ledger? Oh, you're in Ledger now.
Well, it's still moonlighting, we're still in the P O C D.
Did they get a new building official too, and a zoning officer?
Tim Brennan's still there.
Oh, yeah.
They only have a part-time building, but Ariel, they could not find a planner. But Ariel Lago, who was assistant planner in Colchester, I guess. He took the job. Just recently. Kind of like going to my old office once a week. That's a good one.
Where's all that stand, Tracy?
What?
The rec stuff.
That's the older plan. There's a new one coming next week, so. So we have a new plan coming and
And
estimates for
estimates
each
and stuff.
project and
Yeah, where's that going?
back out in the field.
Thank you.
Ground throwing, you're throwing. So I was absent last month too.
Yeah, so technically we should.
Yeah, so you're gonna
I didn't
have to- I
You-
Still vote on it, just
And just to
abstain.
just to be clear, you actually don't have to abstain. That's a common misconception. That as long as you read as long as you read the minutes and are able to understand what happened at the meeting, you are able to go ahead and vote on approving the minutes.
Then I have to read it. So that application for Shetucket, why was it even received if they didn't pay?
That was my question, because I didn't want to set a date.
Because, well, because
Correct.
you don't want to mess with the statutory time clock and say no, we didn't receive it, because there was an application submitted in the system, and you just don't want to get caught on a mandamus issue if you take too long to approve it. And again, you wouldn't necessarily lose in court, but they have a case to be made that even if you don't pay the fee, an application could still be deemed received. So my advice to the commission is not to mess with it, but formally receive it and just wait on scheduling the public hearing and just use the statutory time clock to their advantage.
I thought if you put an application in on the system,
It
though,
has to be
you couldn't
complete.
submit it without payment.
You have to submit a complete application.
It's not a complete application without payment, though. It's neither here nor there, but.
Because in many cases also that the commission is empowered to waive fees, and if that fee waiver, not that they requested it in this case, I'm just giving you an example. If the fee waiver is pending and you want to talk about it, you wouldn't, put the whole application in a state of suspended animation. The state statutes wouldn't agree with that.
And it's.
Oh, I actually have another question too, with not pertaining to this, so there's one more thing on John's discussion. So I make a motion to approve the minutes as done, as received.
One second.
You second it? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Question. And I know we're like in a fuzzy gray area right now, but whatever happened with the violation with all that? I know that there was a cease and desist, but Pete kind of like
For that sawmill?
Sue left and where does all this stand? Do you know anything about it, John?
I believe they, took down signage and moved or changed their Facebook posts to a location in Rhode Island, I believe, which they're using as their sort of staging area. So I do believe that they've ramped down activity in Voluntown significantly. But I haven't seen any follow-up reporting.
It's the portable sawmill.
Okay, yeah, I know. So now as our new posted CEO, I'm gonna ask you if you could go out and just verify that everything's like copacetic at this point, at some point when you're in town.
Okay.
If you do that, I greatly appreciate it.
It wouldn't hurt to follow up with the neighbors who gave a
Yeah.
complaint either.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, the complainant neighbor that compiled that extensive record, I'm absolutely certain will keep us well apprised.
yeah, I
I'm
think,
sure, but-
I think so too, but it would,
Just let them know that
Nice
you've been
to-
there and
yeah.
Sure.
I think to kind of follow up,
keep good relations.
yeah.
Sounds good.
We good? Any more discussion? We've had a lot of discussion on this.
We're checking.
Should I make a motion to adjourn?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Is this-
Taylor.
I just stayed there, it's the AC.
See you next. We'll take the network.
Did you think your truck?
What?
Did you think your truck?
Think?
No. Okay.
No, but I had to put, had to actually get in there. Well, the back, we were underwater.